Hi, welcome everyone to CAGJ's monthly organizing meeting for June, Art and Activism with Patricia Mazuela. And for those who may be new to CAGJ, we are a grassroots Seattle-based organization dedicated to strengthening the global food sovereignty movement. Tonight's session is part of CAGJ's Art and Activism speaker and workshop series, where we have been exploring the role that art plays in making social change. Tonight, we're delighted to welcome guest speaker, Patricia Mazuela of Sin Fronteras, and if needed, our translator, Emilia Cardenas. Patricia organizes with a beautifully varied skill set. She is a musician, playback theater director, composer, community builder, and event developer. She plays Nueva Canción and Latin American rhythms in her band Sin Fronteras. She facilitates the honoring of individual and community narratives through Pasajeros playback theater. She's worked on the Seattle Repertory Theater's play Mañana Land and for a video company that works for immigrants. She interviews Chilean artists through the collective Despabila and practices Reiki and Tamiana therapy. Her passion for solidarity within our community is most infectious, inspiring those around her to continue to create and learn to listen. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to you, Patricia.
Well, thank you so much for this invitation. I'm honored to be here, and thank you to all the people that are with us tonight. And I have to say that I've known the director of this organization before she created the organization. So I'm very familiar with what they do. I encourage everyone to actually learn more about what they do because it keeps growing and growing, and their fundraisers, their galas are amazing. The food is spectacular. So I'm very honored to be here. Well, I have to say that I wear many hats. I'm mainly a musician, but I've been playing with this group, Sin Fronteras, for 20 plus years already, but I've been a musician all my life. I have played in other groups also when I just immigrated from Chile in Seattle. I learned how to play the guitar very young, and my passion has been always folklore and paying attention to the lyrics. I love a new song movement that I grew up with. It's the music that I actually learned very young, and by coincidence ended up being the transition between democracy and then military. So all of a sudden during dictatorship, I couldn't play that music anymore. And then I left, I immigrated to United States for no direct political reasons. My sister was persecuted, so she left the country first. And then I brought her daughter, but she left her daughter for a year. She's actually here tonight with us, her daughter. So years has passed, it's been 40 years, and all of a sudden I'm being very involved. It's my passion to be involved with this music because it's how it's in my heart, and I grew up with it, and it's the main music we play in this group. At the same time, the playback theater group that I'm involved, that I direct with Leticia Nieto, is also focused in stories, personal stories from immigrants with a focus on social change. And a different group that I'm involved with, Despabila, also is also in relationship with the arts and social change from mainly Chile right now, but the members of that group are also from other countries like Colombia and the United States. And in general, all what I really appreciate from being an artist, it's hard for me to be called an activist. I know that because it's my passion, but at the same time, I grew up with a different meaning what it is, activism. And for me is if I can, as an immigrant, I feel for immigrants because it wasn't easy to start here a new life and not being with my family. So I have that tendency because it's natural for me, and at the same time is what motivates me. But at the same time, in Sin Fronteras, we also play music that is pure folklore from Mexico. Is the lyrics are sensitive enough to also talk about love and in general, you know, from working class people that are, you know, if they get inspired with the moon, they get inspired with the flowers, is also part of the folklore from all Latin America, to feel and not being embarrassed to be sensitive. So in that aspect, the other area that I'm been working on now is healing. And I had found healing therapy in Reiki and Tamiana, which are forms to work with energy with my hands, and also crystals and symbols. But I also use instruments. I use the singing bowls, or I use the Mapuche kultrun. I can use my voice, and it's all in relationship with vibration of the energy in the moment, and also from the universe and the people that I'm working with. And I have noticed that for me, this form of healing is really helpful, is the time I have to, as a form of meditation, which I also find that in music. At the end, the world of social change, if I'm in that environment and I grew up with, I have traumas from the dictatorship and immigrating here, is in this form, I can also tell you that in general, life can be harmful for so many different experiences for everyone. It's not just people who immigrate. Everybody goes through their ups and downs, but if we're not in life to focus on the bad things. So, but it's hard to bring the positive on us sometimes. So I think that this healing techniques have shown me a different way to deal with daily life and oppression, different pressures that we all feel. So if there is a way for me to help someone, I also help myself, because the energy, for example, I get as a musician in a live concert is the vibration and that energy, combining music with people and all the vibe mixed together, is very amazing. I think musicians in general that don't play for the public do miss that. They want that, because, and that is the reason, is the gift. I'm open for questions. Please interrupt. I'm going to leave it there. I usually prefer to improvise. I don't prepare much. You can go ahead and play the music. Welcome. I welcome questions at any time. Please do.
I would like to talk.
Please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question for Patricia. I wanted to know, how do you feel now that you're able to come back to your country when you're back?
In terms of how I feel returning when I go there to visit.
All right, there you go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, no, I heard you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, after the dictatorship and when you finally were able to come back to Chile, tell us a little bit about that. How do you feel? Did you felt? I know it means a lot for people when they have to leave their country and leave their families, and they couldn't come back to Chile for many, many years. And then they're able to return and to visit again and to be in Chile again. How was that?
Well, in all these years, the first time I went back, it was 7 years, and yeah, I was a mess. I was just crying all the time. I think it's a mixed feeling because all of a sudden I also realized that I'm not there anymore. And the more years I've been here, it's incredible because I don't feel I'm from here either. So it's kind of like there is not. And that's why I don't like flags in a way. It's kind of like, I'm from here, I'm from there. And there's not one single flag that will represent that. And, and that probably happens to many people. There's been different reactions and different trips. For example, one day, I remember on the way from the airport in the car, I started seeing people in the bus and the street. And all of a sudden I saw myself in all these women because they were all my skin color, my same height. They weren't even talking to me. They were all walking on the street. And that was priceless. Details like that I never thought about that before, but it's just a feeling, but if I go by how I feel without putting words, because sometimes I don't know the exact word, it counts. It counts because when you immigrate, and it's different than visiting. When you visit countries, you're there temporarily. You don't need to learn anything as much as for fun, which is different. When you immigrate, you have to survive. You're a survivor. So you learn different skills and you go through different processes and depending on the amount of years. So that process also counts returning. Every time I return to Chile, I learn something new. I'm a foreign now. I recover the sense of humor. I laugh a totally different way than how I laugh here. So all that, I take it as energy, as the sun, because I know I'm not returning. I know I'm not going back to live there. It's impossible. And I had accepted that. I prefer to have the gift of being an immigrant, which is many different colors, languages around me. Yeah, that's a gift. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Patricia, for sharing that to us.
Any more questions, or go ahead?
Yeah, would you be able to talk about a little bit about the founding of Sin Fronteras?
Oh, yeah. Sin Fronteras was founded by coincidence. I was on a process of getting separated and later divorced. During my marriage years, I wasn't playing much music. I had kids. I did with them children's song, which was very different. So I started playing music again, connecting with different musicians, different people. And then in the living of my house, we started connecting, and all of a sudden, one member said, "We have a gig." A gig. I meant like, wow, really? So we needed a name. And that's how Sin Frontera was born. Our first gig was at the Fremont Fair. That's the first gig. That was the first gig. And the first group was very different. I'm the only remaining musician from the beginning, but we were a very big, large group, like 7, 6, 2005. Until now, it's been at least, I think it's been already 20 years that it's been, so we've been playing longer, but mainly 20 years as a trio. And the other members are from Colombia and Mexico. And you can show some of the music if you like.
Yeah, I was gonna say which video or song is speaking to you, Patricia?
I will play Galopa because that's the name of the CD. I can play.
Okay, yeah. All right, let me do this. And then maybe you can share a little bit about the story behind it. It's really cool.
Yes.
So maybe you could share.
We started playing this song, Galloping, Galopa. We got the art design from Alfredo Arreguin, who recently passed away 2 months ago, less than 2 months ago, here in Seattle, a very well-known artist from Mexico. And this song belongs to the poet Pablo Neruda from Chile. Obviously, as a poet, he was well known for that, but he only wrote one play, and this play is a musical. And I got interested in this play because the music is amazing, and is all folk with Andean instrumentation and guitar. I really like this song, and because it spoke for me as an immigrant, galloping, and Joaquin Murrieta, in the play, he plays as a lion, because Joaquin Murrieta is a lion from Mexico, but in the play, he says he's not from Mexico, that he's from Chile, and that he immigrated all the way from Chile to here, California, to fight for the rights back then, and then went for all the way to Mexico. So, but the whole story and the whole play is fascinating. I encourage you to look for that. There was one director here from Vashon Island who wanted to direct this play here. So we honored our musicians from this Sin Fronteras, we're all immigrants, Mexico and Colombia, with this, the title of this CD.
Beautiful. Yeah, well, let's listen to it.
¿Dónde están
Thank you. Perfect.
Yes.
Mhm.
How, I mean, the song just like takes your whole being. It's such a, you know, encapsulating song, and especially with the instruments that you're playing. And yeah, can you talk about the lyrics a little bit?
Yes, the lyrics on this song talks about what, in a way, kind of like what a life for someone like Joaquin Murrieta, who was, he's told to the, he was like a Robin Hood. He will steal from the rich and give it to the poor. So that's what it says. It says that he was very strong and people, and he was always escaping. And there is a book that talks about at the beginning, he wasn't like that. He actually came from money, but had problems, lost everything, and became what nowadays will be considered a homeless. So out of necessity, he ended up stealing, and he became well known for that, but then ended up forming how you say, like other robbers came in, ended up like a gang on and one of those guys, the other guys ended up being like the killer or the bad person, but wasn't Joaquin Murrieta. But at the end, the song talks about galloping, escaping for your life, keep giving to the poor. At the end, you know, the way Neruda wrote everything, he was just trying to teach. This is my version of understanding the way he wrote, is like giving the message of justice through poems and through this play. It's kind of like to be aware what is out there, what sometimes what it looks bad is not bad. We have to learn more about a person in this case, or more about the situation. No judge, don't judge. And that's so true, you know, in general life. And we have that tendency, I include myself, in judging when sometimes is really unfair. And I also see that when I treat people in healing sessions, there is a lot of misery out there. There is a lot of depression and people who suffer from self-esteem because it's not, it feels bad to be bullied, I mean, as children, but also as an adult. So it's all this teach me, I'm still learning that paying attention on what we listen to, but also what we say and when to say it is very important. And now society, I think, are less careful with that. Any other questions? We could continue playing music. And then I think I will talk a little bit about the movement, the new song movement. Is we actually do teach on all levels, but mainly college and universities, about what this movement is about. And it's exactly that. It's about, at the end, if we don't talk too much about what happened in Chile, about the US intervention and military and dictatorship and people that disappeared and were tortured, that was the main reason why this music was created. But it was, the other side of it is the combination of the instruments. They started including all the Andean instrumentation, all the instruments from Spain also, but other countries like el cuatro from Venezuela. So combining other instruments also brought combining different rhythms and different styles. the lyrics, the importance of paying attention to the lyrics. So when we go to college and university, that's what I try to teach, is that young people should pay attention to what they're singing, because I didn't do that so much when I was young, very young, and or sometimes I don't know, there is a very popular pop song playing and we don't know, we like the rhythm, which is completely different, but if we pay attention to the lyric, we're like, oh my God, I like that. And so New Song Movement is about that, paying attention. And because once the lyrics goes to your soul, it opens your eye completely different. And so it's completely fine to have music for everything, you know, it's kind of like plants and food, you know, there is for everything, different aspects of your life. So New Song Movement ended up being prohibited during the dictatorship for good reasons. It is the reason why, I mean, the military was afraid of the music with a meaning. Because that kind of belonged to affecting the intellect, right? So that was considered dangerous. It's better to play music for fun, to dance, and not to think. So it was prohibited, and the peñas were created, and the peñas were a place where musicians and actors, all the artists, will gather in clandestine way. And there were at least 4 peñas. I attended 2. It was so cool. We just go to a street, enter a house, and then another house through patios in a very old neighborhood. And then all of a sudden you see all the people and all the artists, and pretty amazing. But that sense also of being in dangers that the military would show up, it ends up being adrenaline too. Young people, when you're young, you kind of like that. I mean, nothing happened to me, but my parents had no idea where I was. No, they never knew. I never told them.
And so these peñas were were they also a space for folks to organize politically, as well as, or like, come together and play music?
No.
Or is it just artistic?
Only artistic. Back then, anything that involved to be well, to be considered an activist, that's why you needed to be officially in a political party. That's what it meant. You needed to be trained, you needed to be a serious activist, like willing to die for that party. I've never seen that here. And so that's why I don't consider myself to be an activist. I play music, I can teach about the movement, but that's very different. I know that my personal story counts, but that's it. And not even me, it was mainly my sister.
So,
you talk a little.
was
go ahead.
was your sister, hello.
Nice you.
Nice to see you, Patricia. So was your sister officially an activist and trained? I mean, was she putting her life on the line? You said she had to, no.
No, she was one of the victims that was persecuted. She was a librarian in a university, one of the main university, where actually was considered one of the places that still until today in Santiago, Pedagógico, is where all the protests happen. So she was a librarian there, but she also worked in another university, Universidad Católica. So she moved around a lot. And apparently a lot of her classmates were involved, but as a librarian, they have direct contact with students. So the agent that persecuted her wanted names, and he made sure that she was going to be scared. I mean, he threatened her in so many different ways, follow her, and she was a single mom. He tried to kidnap his daughter. Back then, she was only like 3. There was a lot going on for the family. So yeah, it was scary, very, very scary. I still remember those days vividly because I was young and scared. Like I was scared for her. So she ended up leaving, but she also didn't leave the country as an exile or a refugee, which also have a different hat when you advantages per se. Obviously, there's never an advantage to be a refugee or an exile, but no, she just left, and she was able to leave. I think she saved her life, because back then there were a lot of these places where they would just take people and torture them, and we didn't know. You know, we were under the dictatorship. We have no idea that those places existed until we left. We learned that here. And then my role was to bring her daughter back. So that's why I came.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, it was hard. And at the same time, it's hard. It's hard to remember. Sorry. It's hard to share in a way, but at the same time, it's good to share because it's part of the healing process. And in a way, I understand when people don't want to share, but it's you. You know, it's better. It has taken me time to share, but at the same time, if you don't, it's worse. We need to heal.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing and being in this space with that intention and just being so open about it. You know, touches everybody in their own personal stories when people open up about the troubles in their lives. And yeah.
I'm here for that.
Yeah.
So not a problem. Yeah. No, I just wish I could control it, but it's okay to show it too. Is I don't feel embarrassed or bad about showing my tears. It's completely opposite. I prefer to see people crying than not showing themselves completely.
Mhm. And so with how did you get started in your healing work? I'm interested in hearing about that, you know, on this.
Well, my sister is not here. I don't think so, but she started, she introduced me to Reiki. I did hear from Reiki from many other friends, but she started Reiki way before me, at least 10 years before me. And it was one of the things I had in my list that I really wanted to learn how to do it. Right before COVID, I took a class and I started practicing weekly, attending circles. And it wasn't easy to start because there was a part of me that didn't, at first I thought, oh, this is just for me, but then there's always the opportunity to share it, you know, and try with people. And it was right on time before COVID. I started trying with people before COVID, the year before. So after a year of being practicing, during COVID, it was a blessing in a way, because that's when I started working as a therapist through videos, phone calls, And a lot of people were asking for Reiki back then, the whole year. And I thought, like, wow, I learned this right on time without knowing what was going to happen. And then after that, my friend Carolina, who's here, she introduced me to Tamiana. And Tamiana, by coincidence, I was receiving Tamiana session from her on a distance. She's in Chile. I decided to take the class, and by coincidence, I took the class right after I have had an accident. I got a concussion, and it was very healing for me. So I decided to use my voice and instruments when I can with Tamiana. And I have a studio where I see people. I have done more Tamiana and Reiki for free than money. I charge too, but the priority is to just give it, at least for me. Yeah, it's pretty amazing because I'm very intuitive, and I'm one of those practitioners that see things, and I can pass the message if the person allows me. And it's a different type of, for me, it's very healing to receive that energy and that session.
And Carolina is our Patricia, what are you talking about? Carolina, who's on the call right now, introducing you to Tamiana.
Yes, I'm
Carolina,
here.
can you talk about your relationship to Tamiana as well? I'm curious about that, and also to explain what Tamiana is for me, and also those of you who don't know what it is.
Tamiana is a healing technique from Argentina, and is vibration with quartz. You put a person and put quartz in it, and you call the energy, and you don't channel it. It goes directly from the universe to the person. So it doesn't matter how you are internally. If you are feeling heavy or you don't feel right to do whatever, right? It helps you. So that's the amazing thing about Tamiana, that even if you're not okay, or you are not perfectly feeling well and clean, or stressed, or you have many problems in your life and you have someone that needs this, you do it and it helps you too. And the energy is very different. It's funny because it's 3 sessions, and the first one is, this technique is to raise your vibration. So when you are not in the vibration that you're supposed to be, that you don't feel connected to, your life is all upside down, right? You don't feel right. So in the first session, you feel the switch. So it's not longer the same. So you will be maybe fighting with people because you're getting, it gives you the willpower and the willingness to change. Whatever is not working for your life, it helps you to do it, and it gives you the courage to do it. So it's a very fun technique, and the first week is always kind of messy because it will make you change, even if you are like comfortable not doing it but hurting yourself. So it was great for me. I was actually meditating and asking for a technique, and it got to me. I did a class and I started learning, and it just came from, I don't even remember when or how, but it was so like organically just showed up. So that's what it's Tamiana. It's like energy, and when you call it, it comes. So I recommend it, and Patricia is very good doing it. So I totally recommend her too.
Yeah, we exchange.
Yeah.
Exchange. it's nice to clean. It's kind of like you learn the importance of cleaning your chakras. It's so important.
Right.
It's so important because we don't realize how much we get affected by environment, and that involves mainly people. we all absorb energy from a daily. So chakras get affected, obviously. And how can we control them? Just resting, sometimes it's not enough, just resting. So by calling this energy and with the help of the crystals and the symbols, and maybe someone else doing it for you, you feel different. You feel, like Carolina said, the work of the energy. And Reiki is different, but it's the same thing as working with energy, but mainly your hands is on your hands. I think, if I want to say what is different about those two, is that Reiki sessions can be 10 minutes to an hour, but Tamiana session is 1 hour each, and it has to be 3 sessions, 3 weeks in a row. So you do experience a lot during those 3 weeks.
That's true.
And yeah, and music can, I think, be considered energy work in its own right. And I'm wondering if, yeah, Patricia, if you have another song that's coming to you that we want to share in these last 10 minutes.
Of course. Let's go with Terciopelo Negro. It's just the 6 terciopelo. Found it? Nice, thank you.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about it a little before we play it, or should we jump in?
No, I'll tell you a little bit. This song is from Ecuador, originally from Ecuador. I love the rhythm. It's called Albazo. It's very indigenous. And I love the arrangement with it. I learned the song when I was a child, but then it was recorded by Isabel Parra, who is the daughter of the main folklorist in Chile. When she was in exile, she recorded this song. And it's the perfect love song with climate change. I don't know how to explain that, because it talks about the importance of how sacred water is. So it's about a couple who is in love and they separate. So they, el castigo, how you say el castigo, the person who was left will never give his or her partner water. That person will have to die, without water. So it's very rigid in a way, but at the same time, it makes you think, wow, yeah, water is life. It makes so much sense. So that's what it talks about with an indigenous phrasing language.
Well, let's get into it.
Próxima canción es ecuatoriana, se llama Terciopelo Negro, Black Velvet. Terciopelo Thank you.
And can you, so there's the harp and the guitar, but what are the names of the percussive instrument?
Percussion?
The flute. Mhm.
Well, the harp is the one that Abel plays. Is from Venezuela. He prefers to play that one instead of the harp from Mexico. There are a lot of varieties. The harp from Chile is very, very different and very hard to play.
Mm.
And instruments that Diego is playing, the big percussion drum is called bombo legüero, and it's originally from Argentina. Actually, a friend of mine got it there, and it's a whole trunk from a tree, and they pick the tree and they have to wait several years before the luthier makes these instruments. They're very, very hard to find, and they're very cool. The sound is amazing.
Wow.
And then the other instruments are from the Andes, is the flutes, the pan pipes. They're mainly from Bolivia, but it's also common to see them in Peru, Argentina, Chile, Ecuador, zampoñas, quenas. There are more instruments that weren't shown. They are like the cuatro from Venezuela. I also play the charango a little bit, which is also originally from Bolivia. And yeah, is the combination of sounds is very important to create a new version of all these songs were recorded. The only original songs I compose are not for this group. It hasn't happened yet. I have done it for other things like the theater, the play, or the video company.
Well, I'd like to hear these, some originals soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. At some point in the future, I'd love to hear what comes out of your, creative source. And
Sure, yeah, I can send some. I do have. I haven't recorded it. I have to ask permission, to be honest. The pieces, they let me sign this paper. I have to ask permission to show it. But I have other things that I can show.
yeah, please, I can send in a follow-up email as well. And so we're coming to the end of our meeting, and I just want to leave a couple minutes for some last minute questions from any of you here in the room today, or from Patricia, if you have any last minute comments before we close out for the night.
Well, I want to say on my part, thank you to people who attended tonight, and also the questions and the interest from the organization. Thank you so much for bringing artists. I know you had another artist before me. It's very cool to acknowledge the work from the artists.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing that.
Mm.
Sure, you're welcome.
And Julia?
Yes, hi. Gracias. Gracias, Patricia, for your work and also your mentorship in my own life. Can you talk about a little bit about how with the coup d'etat that happened in Chile, my father has escaped from that. With it being the 50th year anniversary, can you talk a little bit about how the music, I also do want to share that when you had performed at one of the Chilean events, the song Pueblo Unido Jamás Será Vencido, that was so powerful for me. Seeing everyone in the room, a lot of people, Chilenos, and knowing the words, singing that. And when I researched more about that, history of that song. It really was very meaningful to me, and just also want to thank you for your leadership too in with your Reiki gift, the gift that you have. So just you know, I know you talked about Pablo Neruda. I was able to go in 2019 to finally meet my cousins for the first time. You know, we were separated during that war, but I was able to visit Pablo Neruda's a couple of his houses, and I'm familiar with his poetry, so I'm very glad you brought attention to his play. I'll be looking more into that, but just talk a little bit about the importance with how you use your instruments in coping with trauma, because I know that was something that you had reminded me to do with when things got difficult in my life. I really want to thank you for that.
No, thank you, Julia. Yeah, I have shared Reiki with Julia many times. Well, this music, as I said, the peñas were created because the music was prohibited. Many of these groups went on exile. They went, Quilapayún went to France, Iyapu went to Mexico, Tijimani went to Italy. They were all very successful until today. They're still playing. They have come here in Tijimani, Iyapu, no Quilapayún. And El Pueblo Unido, thanks for bringing that up. We do have it in our repertoire, and we do teach about this song. It was, this song, believe it or not, was created during Allende's campaign. Imagine a president for a political campaign traveling by train through the whole country. Chile is very long and narrow. He put a lot of artists. His political campaign consisted in having the train full of artists. So he had actors, painters, musicians, a lot of musicians and poets. So the campaign consisted in stopping on the main cities, bringing all these artists, especially in areas that wasn't accessible. And this song was written for that purpose, for that train. I believe there is going to be a documentary that is going to talk about this train. And so this song it became global. I mean, if you Google, I mean, YouTube, you put this song, you're going to find that in all the languages that you can imagine. It's been very popular in Asia, in Iran, you name, in Italy. Is a well-known song, and the lyrics talks mainly about that people will united will never be defeated. In terms of, to be honest, it makes sense, and at the same time, when people suffer, any type of suffering, is like even students, people who don't feel that it's enough for them, singing is a relief. But if the lyrics have a very strong meaning for a protest or a march, even if things will never change, it causes relief, it causes healing. So that's why I like this song, because to be honest, I don't always think things are going to change. I prefer to be more realistic about that, because then the pain is worse. So, but if you're singing it and you're letting it out, that's where the healing comes for me, because you're not keeping it for you. It's kind of like saying, oh, I don't want to talk about that. No, you have to talk about the hard things, because otherwise it'll go to one of your organs and you're going to get sick. You have to let it out. So that's why I like that song. It's very firm, and it gives you hope that someday things are going to be fair for everyone. Thank you, Julia, for the question. Oh, my sister is here.
Yeah. And I think she just said, thank you for this history. It's Irene, right?
Yeah.
Your sister. Hi, Irene. Hi, sister. Thank you for this history and music with this special group and experience for me and family. Really proud of them and their work. Bravo, todos, everyone. And just reading what she put in the chat. Want to boost that. I love that the family is here.
Yeah, she's in California and my niece is in Oregon. Yeah, she's here.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, if there's no more comments or questions, I think that's a beautiful place to leave off on, and just a great reminder for everyone to express. I think that's really a big takeaway I'm getting from tonight. You know, it's just inspiration to see all the many ways that you express. And I remember in the beginning of the meeting, you were saying, like, am I going to be able to say everything that I've, all the artistic ways that I express? And I don't think we got to it, because there is so much that you do and so many channels that you flow through. So I really appreciate what we were able to talk about tonight. And I'm excited to pick up my guitar after this meeting and sing a little bit. And I hope everyone can do this, similarly with themselves tonight. And yeah, thank you so much, Patricia, and everyone who came. It was really special. Yeah.
Thank you so much for everyone and the invitation, but all the people that were here on this session. Thank you so much. It means a lot that people are interested in the arts and healing.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I think there's this, I forget who says it, but there's a quote that, like, artists make the resistance irresistible. I don't know if anyone, I don't think I'm butchering it, but yeah. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.